This is Rome. Not the crumbling ruins you walked past on vacation. Not the marble Hollywood version with senators in white togas giving dramatic speeches. This is the real thing. The year is 113 AD. Emperor Trajan sits on the throne. The empire stretches from Britain to Mesopotamia, from the Rhine to the Sahara. Rome has never been larger. It will never be larger again. This is the peak. Right here, right now. But what was it actually like to spend a week here? Not as an emperor, not as a senator lounging in a hilltop villa, but as an ordinary person, a visitor arriving at the gates of the largest, loudest, most extraordinary city the ancient world has ever seen. Using AI trained on archaeological evidence and historical records, we've reconstructed what 7 full days in ancient Rome actually looked like. Not just the Colosseum, not just the Forum, we're talking about the real Rome. The overflowing tenements, the grease-stained food counters, the screaming vendors, and the smell of 1 million people crammed into 13 square kilometers. From your first morning waking up in a rickety apartment, to your last night listening to the city breathe in the dark, this is what life was actually like in the greatest city on Earth. Let's step back 1,913 years. Day 1. Arrival. You come in from the south, along the Via Appia. The road is beautiful, arrow straight, paved with volcanic basalt so precisely cut that a coin wouldn't slip between the stones. You've been walking for hours. Your sandals are worn. Your tunic smells like 3 days of travel. And then you see it. Rome doesn't creep up on you. It announces itself. First the tombs, miles of them lining the road, because Romans bury their dead outside the city walls. Stone monuments, marble busts, inscriptions begging you to stop and read. Stranger, my message is short. Stop and read it. That's a real inscription. They're everywhere. The dead are chatty in Rome, then the buildings start. Suburbs first, warehouses, workshops, the apartments of people who can't afford to live inside the walls. Then you hit the Porta Capena, one of the main southern gates, and the noise hits you like a wall. This is not a quiet city. Carts are banned during daylight hours. Julius Caesar passed that law over 100 years ago. But that just means everything else is louder. Vendors screaming prices, hammers on anvils, a school teacher drilling students in the open air because he can't afford a building, dogs barking, someone arguing in a language you don't recognize. Could be Greek, Aramaic, Celtic, Egyptian. Rome pulls in people from everywhere. The streets are narrow, shockingly narrow. Some are barely 3 meters wide. The buildings on either side rise 5, 6, 7 stories high. Insulae, they're called. Apartment blocks, tenements. Built cheap, built fast. Built to squeeze as many people into as little space as possible. The poet Juvenal called Rome a city held together with thin props and patches. He wasn't exaggerating. Buildings collapse here, regularly. You find a room. Let's say the 4th floor of an insula in the Subura, Rome's most notorious neighborhood. Loud, dirty, packed, dangerous, and cheap. Your room has no running water, no toilet, no glass in the windows, just wooden shutters. There's a bed, a small table, maybe a clay oil lamp. That's it. If you want water, you walk down 4 flights of stairs to the nearest fountain. If you need the toilet, you walk to the nearest public latrine, or you use a chamber pot and dump it out the window. Legally, you're supposed to shout a warning first. Not everyone does. The rent is not cheap. A basic room in the Subura runs about 2,000 sesterces a year. A legionary soldier earns roughly 1,200 sesterces a year. Think about that. A soldier can't afford a crappy apartment in Rome's worst neighborhood. That's the housing market in 113 AD. You drop your bag. You're hungry. You head outside. Your first meal in Rome comes from a thermopolium, a fast food counter built right into the street wall. There are over 150 of them in the city. The counter is L-shaped stone, with terracotta pots sunk into it, each one holding something hot. Lentil stew, chickpeas with herbs, pork in a wine and fish sauce reduction, a cup of cheap wine mixed with water. Nobody drinks wine straight in Rome, that's considered barbaric. You eat standing up, leaning against the counter, watching the crowd flow past. A group of enslaved people carrying a litter, some rich person being ferried through the streets so they don't have to walk on the same ground as you. A butcher hosing blood off the stones in front of his shop. Two men arguing about a chariot race. An old woman selling amulets guaranteed to ward off the evil eye. This is Rome. It is overwhelming. It is filthy. It is magnificent. You go to bed early. Sleep is not easy. The carts start rolling at sunset. Remember, they're banned during the day, and the noise is deafening. Iron wheels on stone streets, drivers cursing, oxen bellowing. Juvenal wrote that insomnia is what kills most people in Rome. He might have been right. Day 2, the markets. Morning. You're up before dawn because the city is already awake. Bakers have been working since midnight. The smell of fresh bread hits you the second you step outside. Bread is everything in Rome. The state gives free grain to roughly 200,000 citizens. The annona, they call it. You get about 35 kilograms of wheat per month. Not flour, not bread. Raw grain. You either grind it yourself or take it to a baker. Bread comes in round loaves scored into 8 wedges. We know this because perfectly preserved loaves were found in the ruins of Pompeii, frozen in time by the eruption of Vesuvius, 34 years before the day you're standing here. But today, you're not thinking about bread. Today you're going to Trajan's market. Emperor Trajan completed it just a few years ago, and it is unlike anything the world has ever seen. A massive semicircular complex built into the side of the Quirinal Hill. Over 150 shops and offices spread across 6 levels, connected by staircases and a vaulted central hall that archaeologists in the 21st century will call the world's first shopping mall. They're not wrong. The ground floor has the food cellars, olive oil from Spain. Rome imports an estimated 7.5 million litres of olive oil per year, mostly from the province of Baetica. Wine from Gaul, fish sauce, garum, from factories in North Africa. Garum is in everything. Romans put it on bread, in stew, on fruit. It smells terrible in its raw state. Fermented fish intestines left in the sun for months. But somehow, mixed into food, it works. Think of it like ancient Rome's version of Worcestershire sauce, only more intense and everywhere. The upper levels have textiles, spices, and luxury goods. Silk from China, actual Chinese silk, traded along the Silk Road through Parthian middlemen. Pepper from India, cinnamon from Sri Lanka, glass from Egypt. Rome is the center of a global trade network that won't be matched for another 1,500 years. You spend the morning wandering. You watch a man buying a bolt of purple-dyed wool, Tyrian purple, extracted from sea snails, worth more by weight than gold. You watch a spice merchant measuring out pepper with a scale so precise it looks like jewelry. You eat a honeyed pastry from a street vendor, and it's the best thing you've tasted in your life. Rome runs on commerce. The empire produces an estimated GDP that some modern economists have compared to early modern Europe, all without electricity, steam power, or any of the things we consider essential. They did it with roads, ports, standardized currency, and the largest common market the ancient world has ever known. Afternoon. You drift through the Forum of Trajan, the emperor's crowning architectural achievement. The column at its center, Trajan's column, stands 38 meters tall. A spiral frieze wraps around it from bottom to top, 200 meters of continuous carved relief depicting Trajan's conquest of Dacia. 2,662 individual figures carved in stone. It is one of the most detailed historical records ever created, and it's brand new. The marble still gleams white. In 2,000 years, it'll be grey and weathered. Right now, it's blinding in the afternoon sun. Day 3. Blood and sand. You've been in Rome 3 days and you haven't been to the Colosseum yet. That changes today. The Flavian Amphitheatre, that's its real name. Nobody calls it the Colosseum yet. That name comes later, probably from the colossal statue of Nero that stood nearby before Trajan's time. Right now, it's just the amphitheatre. The amphitheatre, there's only one that matters. It holds roughly 50,000 people. Entry costs almost nothing. A quadrans, the smallest coin in circulation. The emperor pays for the shows. It's politics. Keep the people entertained and they don't riot. Juvenal's famous line, panem et circenses, bread and circuses, was written about exactly this era. You arrive early. The lararium, a massive retractable canvas awning, is being unfurled by a team of sailors from the imperial fleet stationed at Misenum. Yes, sailors. The rigging is so complex that only trained naval crews can operate it. It shades about 2/3 of the audience. You're sitting high up, in the cheap seats, but you can see everything. The arena floor is covered in sand, harina, which is where the word arena comes from. Beneath it is the hypogeum, an underground network of tunnels, cages, elevators and trapdoors that can launch animals, scenery and fighters into the arena seemingly from nowhere. The morning program starts with animal hunts, venaciones. This is not what you expect. It's not a guy with a spear versus a lion. It's a full theatrical production. The arena has been transformed into a forest. Real trees hauled in from outside the city, planted in the sand overnight. Deer, ostriches, and wild boar are released into this artificial landscape. Trained hunters, venatores, chase them down in choreographed sequences set to music. An orchestra plays throughout. The crowd cheers favorites. Then the predators come out. A lion from North Africa, a leopard from Syria, a bear from the forests of Germania. Exotic animals are a symbol of imperial power. The farther flung the creature, the more impressive the emperor. Trajan reportedly displayed 11,000 animals during his triumph celebrating the Dacian Wars. Over 123 days of games. Think about the logistics of that. Midday. This is when the executions happen. Condemned criminals, war prisoners, and sometimes Christians. Though the systematic persecution you've seen in movies is largely a later phenomenon. In 113 AD, Trajan actually wrote to Pliny the Younger that Christians should not be hunted down. If they're reported and refuse to recant, that's different. But seeking them out is not in keeping with the spirit of our age. Real quote, real policy. The midday executions are brutal. Many people leave for lunch. You might want to as well. Afternoon, the main event, gladiators. Forget almost everything you think you know. Gladiators are not random slaves thrown into a ring to die. They are trained professionals, athletes. Some are slaves, yes. Some are prisoners of war. But some are volunteers, free men who sign contracts to fight for fame, money, and the roar of 50,000 people screaming their name. They train at specialized schools, ludi, under a lanista, a trainer manager. Their diets are controlled. High in barley and beans for a layer of subcutaneous fat that protects against shallow cuts. Gladiator bones found by archaeologists show evidence of high-quality medical care, healed fractures set by skilled surgeons. They were investments. You don't kill investments casually. The fights are refereed. There are rules. Different gladiator types fight in specific matchups. A heavily armored Mamillo against a lightly armored Retiarius with his net and trident. The Retiarius dances. The Mamillo stalks. It's choreography as much as combat. When a gladiator falls, the crowd screams. Thumbs are involved, though which direction meant what is actually debated by historians. The editor of the games, usually the emperor or a wealthy sponsor, makes the final call. Most fights don't end in death. death is expensive, but when it happens, it's real. A man dies on the sand in front of 50,000 people, and the arena staff hook his body with a curved pole and drag it through the Porta Libertinensis, the gate of death, on the west side of the arena. Fresh sand is raked over the blood. The next fight begins. You leave the Colosseum as the sun is setting. Your ears are ringing. Your throat is raw from screaming. You're not sure how you feel. Day 4. Water and stone. Today you're going to the baths, and it's going to change how you understand this civilization. The baths of Trajan sit on the Oppian Hill, built over the ruins of Nero's infamous Golden House. Trajan buried Nero's vanity project and turned it into the greatest public bathing complex the world has ever seen. The building covers over 100,000 square meters. It has heated pools, cold plunge pools, steam rooms, saunas, exercise yards, gardens, libraries, yes, libraries, and lecture halls. Entry is a quadrans, the smallest coin, same as the Colosseum, practically free. This is the Roman welfare state at its most impressive. The baths aren't just about hygiene, they're about civilization, about the idea that every citizen, rich, poor, freedman, even some enslaved people on their day off, deserves hot water, leisure, and beauty. You enter through a courtyard filled with Greek sculptures, originals, not copies. Trajan looted half of Greece to decorate this building. Inside, the floors are mosaic, the walls are marble, the ceilings are vaulted concrete, a Roman invention that won't be surpassed until the Renaissance. The bathing circuit follows a specific order. First, the palestra, the exercise yard. You strip down, oil your body, and exercise. Wrestling, weightlifting, ball games. Romans exercise naked, and nobody thinks twice about it. Then you scrape off the oil and sweat with a curved bronze tool called a strigil. There's no soap. The strigil does the work. Then the tepidarium, the warm room. Your pores open. Then the caldarium, the hot room, heated by a hypercaust system that channels hot air under the raised floor and through hollow walls. The engineering is staggering. The caldarium's domed ceiling has a circular opening, an oculus, that lets in a column of light and steam. You sit in water heated to roughly 40 degrees Celsius and feel your muscles dissolve. Then, and this is the part that takes willpower, the frigidarium, the cold plunge pool. Ice-cold water fed directly from the aqueducts. You plunge in, your heart hammers, every nerve lights up, and when you climb out, you feel reborn. You spend the rest of the afternoon in the gardens. You browse the library, both a Latin and a Greek collection. You listen to a philosopher give a public lecture on Stoic ethics in the Exedra. This is free, all of it. You're standing in a building that cost the equivalent of hundreds of millions of modern dollars, and it's open to almost everyone in the city. Romans will spend 2 to 3 hours here every single day. This is their social media, their coffee shop, their gym, their spa, their community center. The baths are where deals are made, gossip is exchanged, friendships are forged, and occasionally, according to the poet Martial, where terrible singers are endured. The water that feeds these baths comes from the aqueducts, 11 of them by this point, carrying an estimated 300 million gallons per day, roughly 1,000 liters per person per day. Modern New York City uses about 500 liters per person. Rome in 113 AD uses double. These aqueducts are engineering masterpieces, some stretching over 90 kilometers across the countryside, maintaining a precise gradient that drops just a few centimeters per kilometer. No pumps, gravity alone. Water flows from the hills into the city in a constant, unstoppable stream, and it has for over 300 years. Day 5. Gods and Ghosts. You've been here 5 days and you still haven't grasped the religion. That's because Roman religion isn't a belief system the way you're used to. It's a transaction. You don't have faith in the gods, you make deals with them. Jupiter, If you protect my business, I will sacrifice a bull at your altar. If the business succeeds, you owe Jupiter a bull. If it doesn't, Jupiter didn't hold up his end and you owe him nothing. This is called do ut des. I give so that you may give. It's religion as contract law. There are temples everywhere. The Pantheon, rebuilt by Hadrian in a few years, but the original temple is already here. The Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus on the Capitoline hill, the most sacred site in Rome. The Temple of Vesta, where 6 priestesses tend an eternal flame that must never go out. If a Vestal virgin lets the flame die, she's punished. If she breaks her vow of chastity, she's buried alive. These are not metaphorical punishments. You visit the Temple of Jupiter in the morning. The sacrifice is already underway. A white bull, spotless, no blemishes, chosen specifically. A priest examines the animal, speaks the ritual words. A victimarius strikes the bull with a hammer and then cuts its throat. Blood pours onto the altar. The entrails are removed and examined by a haruspex, a specialist in reading animal organs. The liver is particularly important. Its shape, color, and condition tell you whether the gods approve. The meat goes to the crowd. Public sacrifices are also public barbecues. You eat roasted beef in the shadow of Jupiter's temple and watch the smoke rise into the sky. But the official religion is only half the story. Walk through any neighborhood and you'll find the real spiritual life of Rome at the crossroads. Small shrines, lararia, dedicated to the lares, the spirits that protect the neighborhood. Every home has one too. Every morning, Roman families leave offerings of food, wine, and incense at their household shrine. Every meal begins with a small offering thrown into the hearth fire. And then there are the mystery cults. Isis from Egypt, Mithras from Persia, Sibyl from Asia Minor. These are the religions of choice, the ones you're initiated into, the ones that promise something the state religion doesn't. Personal salvation, an afterlife, meaning. You're invited to a Mithraic gathering by a man you met at the baths. It happens underground, in a narrow, cave-like temple called a Mithraium. There are benches along the walls, a relief of Mithras slaying a bull at the far end. The ritual involves a shared meal, chanting, and stages of initiation with names like Raven, Soldier, and Lion. It feels secretive, intense, transformative in a way that watching a priest read a bull's liver does not. There are over 40 Mithraea in Rome. Mithraism is especially popular among soldiers and merchants. It won't survive the next 2 centuries. Christianity will absorb its energy. But right now, it's one of the most vital spiritual movements in the empire. Day 6, the other Rome. 6 days in, and you still haven't seen the Rome that most people actually live in. Today you do. Forget the Forum, forget Trajan's column. The Subura, the neighborhood you've been sleeping in, is the real Rome. And today, you walk every stinking, teeming block of it. The Subura is packed. Population density estimates for Rome's densest neighborhoods rival modern Mumbai. 6- and 7-story insula lean over streets so narrow that neighbors on opposite sides can shake hands from their windows. The ground floors house shops, tanners, fullers, bakers, metalworkers. The fullers are the worst. Fulling, ancient laundry, involves stamping clothes in vats of water, lye, and human urine. Urine is collected in pots placed on street corners. If you've been using those pots, you've been contributing to the local textile industry. Congratulations. The upper floors are apartments. The higher you go, the cheaper and more dangerous it gets. Ground floor apartments sometimes have running water and even crude heating. 6th floor apartments have nothing but walls and a window, and the constant threat of fire. Fire is Rome's nightmare. The Great Fire of 64 AD, the one that may or may not have involved Nero and a fiddle, destroyed 10 of Rome's 14 districts. Since then, building codes have improved. Nero mandated wider streets, concrete walls, and fire breaks. Augustus created the Vigiles, a force of 7,000 night watchmen and firefighters, organized into 7 cohorts. They patrol the streets after dark with buckets, axes, and hand-pumped water engines called siphons. It's not enough. Fires still break out constantly. In a city of 1 million people living in wooden-floored apartments lit by open oil lamps, fire is not a question of if, it's when. You spend the afternoon in the streets. You watch a tooth puller working on a screaming patient right on the sidewalk. You pass a school, an open-air classroom where a grammaticus drills boys in Latin grammar. Girls are not officially excluded, but few attend past the basics. Literacy rates in the empire are debated, but estimates range from 10 to 30%, depending on the region. In Rome itself, it's probably higher. Signs are everywhere. Graffiti is everywhere. The walls of Rome are covered in political slogans, advertisements, love poems, and obscenities. Exactly like modern cities, just carved in stone. Speaking of graffiti, Pompeii, preserved under ash, gives us a perfect snapshot. Successus the weaver loves Iris, the barmaid. Gaius was here. On April 19th, I made bread. I don't want to sell my husband, not for all the gold in the world. These are real. Romans were exactly as petty, romantic, bored, and human as we are. Evening falls. The Subura gets dangerous after dark. There are no streetlights, no police. The Vigiles patrol for fires, not crime. Juvenal describes walking home at night and being pelted with garbage thrown from upper-floor windows. Muggers are a real threat. Wealthy Romans never go out at night without a retinue of enslaved people, carrying torches and acting as bodyguards. You eat dinner at a popina, a slightly more upscale version of the thermopolium, with actual seating. You eat pulse, a thick porridge of wheat, water, and salt that has been the base of the Roman diet for centuries. Topped with cheese and a drizzle of olive oil. Cheap, filling, not bad. You walk home carefully, keeping to the middle of the street to avoid what might be falling from above, and listening for footsteps behind you. You make it. You bolt the door. In the apartment above you, someone is singing. In the apartment below, someone is fighting. Outside, the carts have started again. Rome never sleeps. Day 7, the last day. Your last day. You wake up and the city is the same as it was on day 1. Roaring, stinking, breathing, alive. Rome doesn't care that you're leaving. Rome barely noticed you arrived. You spend the morning doing what every visitor eventually does. You stand in the Forum Romanum and try to take it all in. This is the center, not just of Rome, of the world. From this spot, roads radiate outward to Britain, to Spain, to Egypt, to Syria. The Lararium Aureum, the golden milestone, stands here. Every distance in the empire is measured from this point. The Forum is crowded. Senators in their togas with the broad purple stripe. Lawyers arguing cases in the Basilica Ulpia. Money changers at their tables. A magistrate reading a public edict to a bored crowd. Tourists from the provinces staring at the Temple of Saturn the same way you're staring now. You look at the buildings around you and you think, this is permanent. This has always been here and will always be here. Every Roman thinks this. The city is eternal, the urbs aeterna, Roma invicta, Rome unconquered. They're wrong. In 300 years, Alaric and the Visigoths will sack this city. In 400 years, the last Western emperor will be deposed by a barbarian general. In 500 years, the Forum you're standing in will be a cow pasture. The temples will be quarried for stone. The aqueducts will go dry. The Colosseum will lose its marble cladding, stripped by medieval builders who needed the material. But that's the future. Right now, on this spring morning in 113 AD, none of that has happened. Right now, Rome is eternal. And standing here, surrounded by 1 million people and 2,000 years of history that hasn't happened yet, You almost believe it. You eat a last meal: bread, cheese, olives, a cup of posca, vinegar water that soldiers and ordinary people drink because it's cheap and actually refreshing. You walk back to your insula. You pack your bag. You leave the key with the landlord, who doesn't say goodbye because you already paid, and that's all he cares about. You walk south, back toward the Porta Capena, back toward the Via Appia. The tombs line the road again. The dead are still talking. Traveler, stop and read. You stop. You read. A freedman named Gaius Atilius Euhodus, marbler by trade. He lived, he worked, he died. He wanted you to remember him. You turn around one last time. Rome is behind you, sprawling and smoky under a blue Italian sky. 1 million people eating, arguing, scheming, praying, loving, cheating, dreaming and dying. The largest city the Western world will see for over 1,000 years. Then you turn back to the road, and you walk. So that was 7 days in ancient Rome. Not the marble fantasy, not the Hollywood toga party, the real Rome. The one that smelled like urine and fresh bread in the same breath. The one where you could eat like a king for a quadrans and die in a building collapse for free. The one where 50,000 people screamed for blood on a Tuesday afternoon and then went to a library. Here's what makes Rome remarkable. Not the conquests, not the legions, not even the architecture, though the concrete they invented is still holding up buildings 2,000 years later. What makes Rome remarkable is the ambition, the absolute, unshakable belief that you could build a city for 1 million people and make it work, that you could pipe water from the mountains and deliver it to every neighborhood, that you could feed an empire on roads and grain ships, that you could take 12 different peoples, languages, and religions and forge them into something that called itself Roman. They got a lot of it wrong: the slavery, the violence, the crushing inequality between a senator's hilltop palace and a freedman's 6th-floor fire trap. Rome was not a good place for most of the people who lived there, but it worked. For centuries, it worked. And the shadow it cast is so long that we're still standing in it. Every road you drive on, every aqueduct that inspired a water main, every concrete building, every legal code, every time someone says Senate, Republic, Citizen, that's Rome. Still talking, still here, 2,000 years later. Like those tombstones on the Via Appia. Traveler, stop and read. Thanks for watching Time Warp Cities. Creating these reconstructions takes enormous amounts of research and time, piecing together millennia of history into 7 days. If you enjoyed this journey through ancient Rome, hit subscribe for more immersive history and drop a comment. What city should we reconstruct next? As always, we'll see you in the past.